welcome back to Brokenness Meets Grace. A happy new year to all of you.
Happy year.
2024. It's been a while, and we are sorry that it's been such a long break in between our recordings. It's just been a really hectic couple of months. But and also we don't like to just sort of record these sessions or record these interviews or these episodes rather just because we must, so we like to wait for the perfect and opportune moment with the right topic that's spirit-led and the appropriate guest. So trust us when we say, the break or the period in between each episode, it's not us just forgetting about it. It's us really trying to pray over the right topic to be led on and also to find the right and appropriate guests. Okay. So welcome back.
I'm excited.
Very excited. We thought we'd do a wrap up of our 2023 for Brokenness Meets Grace. Can you believe it's almost a year since we started this podcast?
Wow.
It's going to be a year in February.
Wow.
It's crazy.
Thank God, eh?
Yeah. Hey.
It only speaks to that. I mean, I remember when the idea or the thought really came into both of our minds, and we were both like, no, did we hear him right? And I think consistency proves that we did.
Absolutely.
So we're so thankful.
Absolutely.
So grateful for that.
Sure. So happy.
Yeah.
So we're going to wrap up the year that was 2023 for Brokenness Meets Grace. We're going to touch base on just the topic. I think we did a wrap up last year already, I think midway. So we're just going to do a wrap up on the identity series that we had at the end of the year.
Yeah.
And also we're in a different venue again today. This is our charity shop for the foundation. And we're at work today. So we thought, hey man, it's a nice setting, very rustic, very chilled. So don't be shocked. We'll change it up all the time, keeping it nice and
it's always going to be fresh. Always.
So let's talk about the identity series, right?
So our first guest for the identity series, who was that again?
It was Metozama Lande. And we spoke about covering identity and loss. How do you find yourself? How do you see yourself in the midst of experiencing such a heavy loss? Who do you become? How do you function?
What's left of you after that?
Yeah, and it was a very insightful conversation with Metozama. She's such an amazing woman, such a woman of strength and of such great character, and we respect her so much, and we learned so much. And I think for me the greatest takeaway about the loss topic around identity was the fact that regardless of how much you lose around you, identity being rooted in God is what keeps you grounded, So as painful as that loss is, as painful as it is for you to actually go on without your significant other or, losing anything else that has been such great value in your life, your being rooted in God as your anchor is what keeps you going.
Yeah. And I mean, for us, it was a very difficult one to speak on from a reflective perspective, or rather from a relatable perspective, right? Because we both haven't experienced loss to that magnitude.
Yeah.
So, but I thought it was good that we were able to highlight, just for everybody as well, that losses can be experienced in different ways, and we can latch onto things, not just people, but to things as well. And when those things are taken away from us, it leaves a void, it leaves an emptiness inside of us, and we have to kind of find our way around that missing piece. So I think, like she said just now, that the issue isn't necessarily the loss itself, but the fact that we always find a way to use something else as a placeholder, as a crutch in place of God. And when we understand that it's only God who can fill all of those spaces that we're trying to fill with other things, we will never feel lost. Absolutely. We will never experience it to the way that it devastates us, because He's always there and He completes every aspect of who we are.
Definitely, 100%. And I mean, also it just teaches us to understand that, of course, like our show, Brokenness Meets Grace, that even in the loss, God can still use that pain for His purpose. I mean, we were talking to Metazama not too long ago, and she was on her way, or she was invited as a speaker to a singles conference, but not for the reasons that you think, They asked her particularly to come and speak because they wanted her perspective on widowhood, How do you now function as a widow in a single context? And that's just how God operates.
Yeah.
Something as painful and as tragic as that, He's now using her as a beacon of light, as an inspiration for other people who have experienced the kind of loss that she has. And she's speaking, she's doing a lot more engagements now around the topic of loss and around the topic of navigating loss and painful situations in her life. And she's doing it so well, with the reference point of what she's gone through, but also with the reference point of, hey, I made it. And if I can make it, you can make it too. And that's all that, it's about. It's about God finding us in those areas of our brokenness and Him taking our stories and using them to glorify Himself with His grace.
It's like, where God's concerned, it's not lost.
Exactly.
He finds a way to make it found.
Yes.
He finds a way to give you purpose, even when something is taken away or when someone is taken away. So it's never really lost in hindsight. Definitely. When you look at it that way.
Definitely. So that was an amazing discussion. Second, who was second?
I think we had Gloria, I think.
Yes.
It was Gloria.
Okay, yes. Second. The second guest that we had, or the second topic around the identity series that we had, was Gloria Finn. And that was an amazing discussion as well. And that was around how do you find or navigate your identity around failure, right? And her story is amazing. Amazing story of resilience, an amazing story of just overcoming the worst and overcoming what she thought was ultimately her being in a ditch and never being able to come out. But God meeting her and actually having her succeed after that. Gloria's story was one about how she overcame teenage pregnancy, and at the end of it all, she was able to actually go to school, finish her studies, and actually be educated overseas in Cuba as a general practitioner in psychology, right? And also another indication just how much really God can take our brokenness or what we think is something that's irreparable, and turn it out into something beautiful, you know?
And I mean, with Gloria, she highlighted on a lot of regrets, and a lot of mistakes. And I think all of us can relate. We all have things that we wished we could have done differently.
Yes.
We all have mistakes that we made that we want to correct. But I think her story actually tells us that the mistake was actually purposeful and was necessary, because I don't think she would have gone or gotten to where she needed to get to if she didn't experience she didn't make the choices that she made in the way that she did, in the manner that she did. Right? So I think for her now, when she looks at it, that it wasn't so much a mistake, it was more just a positioning. And I think when we learn to embrace all of our past choices, because we all make mistakes, we all are, immature and led by the wiles of life and make bad choices, but they can still be used for good. They can still be
That's a beautiful thing.
Repurposed.
Such a beautiful thing about God. And that's the thing. I think we limit Him so much when we think of ourselves as unredeemable. When we think of our mistakes and our regrets as, oh my gosh, I've messed up so much. There's no way He wants me. There's no way. There's nothing He can do with me. That really limits our understanding of God, and it limits Him. But He literally can take anything and make it great.
But that would also rule out everybody.
Exactly.
Then there would be very little redeemable qualities in anyone us if He couldn't use that for our good. So I think it's such a beautiful way to repurpose our lives and our choices, that it's not a waste. It can be used for something good.
Never a waste with Papa. And that was an amazing story by Gloria, and we just love her so much, and we're so happy that her life continues to reflect that grace. She's doing very, very well at the moment.
We're rooting for her.
And I think it is this year that she's actually going to UP. She was accepted to UP to complete her fellowship. So we're very, very excited for that for her. And may she continue to shine, And the third guest that we had on our identity series was...
And I think the final guest of the
Fazila.
Auntie
Fazila. With her story, it was very close to home for us because it was a very similar background to our mom's story. And the topic for that was, how do we find or how do we navigate identity after abuse, And it was such a brave thing for her to be able to come and talk about such a painful past. And it really touched so many lives, I think abuse is very difficult because it's on so many different levels. It's layered, right? It's not just physical. It's not just what they do on the outside, but it's also the story that transcends for many, many years about what happened on the inside as well. And to navigate and really find yourself after abuse, I believe, is one of the hardest things that a person can do. And outside of God, it's almost impossible to do that, you know, quite literally impossible, because you have to work through so much damage as a person to function properly.
And it's ongoing.
Yes,
I think
yes.
I don't think it ever actually
goes away, you know. But her story is one of resilience as well, you know. I love how her story was almost ironic in the sense that she was a social worker and she was giving all of this advice to abuse victims, but she was going through the same thing herself, you know. And it was when she sat back and she was like, you know, I can't be a hypocrite. I can't be advising people one way and then living my life another way, that the shift happened in her mind that I need to leave. I cannot continue to stay in this place where I am being treated like this and I am being abused in the manner that I'm being abused. I need to leave and I need to survive. I need to get on my feet for my children. And she did that, you know. But it didn't shape her view of God. If anything, it brought her closer to him.
And actually, that was my biggest takeaway from Auntie Fazila's story, just her faith, you know, and her devoutness to God. And that is so commendable, but it's so inspirational as well. And for me, it just paints a very realistic picture of a believer's journey with God. You know, it's not a pretty picture. It's not a perfect picture. We're not out here trying to tell you that a Christian is gonna live a happy life and there's never ever gonna be problems, you know. But for me, the authenticity of it is just how you were able to still remain faithful, even when you were dealt a bad hand, even when you are trying to be a good person, even when it's not fair, you know. Everything that she went through is not fair. Everything that our mother went through, it was not fair, you know. But the faith aspect is the defining point in all of our lives, and if we don't have that, I think we are broken beyond repair at that point. And for me, just her resolve and her faith and her belief in God was one of the most inspiring stories I've heard from a resilient perspective. Because while she went through that, during and after, that didn't change at all throughout her journey.
Truly, it's truly inspirational. Again, her brokenness was met with God's grace, you know, and that's all we really have is His grace. And I think, like, we truly don't fully understand just how important that is. His grace, you know. It knits us together. It keeps us whole, you know, and it makes up for where we lack, which is a lot, right? And we're just so blessed that on a daily basis, the favor and the grace of God is with us, because we'd be lost without it. And if you take nothing else away from this podcast, if you take nothing else away from these discussions that we have with the guests that we have, let it be that you are never too broken to be repaired by God. You are never too messed up. You are never too lost. You know, there is not this, you know, checkbox and you're out, you're written off, you've had enough chances. That's what grace ultimately is. It's His unending mercy, His love for us that is completely unconditional. So take that, you know.
And also that it's not a one-time thing. You know, I've personally come into that truth myself. Grace is an ongoing journey. You know, we need it daily. We need it all the time, because we are imperfect and we make mistakes and we will fall into habits that, you know, we thought we were shaken off, or we will find ourselves in dips sometimes. And it's just this ongoing cycle of God just redeeming and saving us daily. And that's why He says His mercies are new every single day, because we need them every single day.
God knows we do.
You know, so it's also, I just want to debunk that perception that, you know, once you are saved or you believe in a higher power, it exempts you from troubles. Or finding yourself in moments of despair, you know, or moroseness or stuff like that. No, it's actually in those moments that you are sent, or rather, it brings you in fellowship with God even more, right? When you find yourself in moments like that. And for me, it's really just been a truth that has helped me value my relationship with God even more, you know, and understand how special it is, because I'm a mess and every single day he's committed to helping me get through it.
Absolutely. And I mean, if you don't need to hear that, then you clearly aren't living in the same world that we are, because every single day is hard. Like, and you know, like she said, there's no standard or benchmark to Christianity. Like, there's no, that's the perfect Christian and that's who I need to emulate and that's what I need to be received by God. Like, all he has to use is us, and we are imperfect vessels who are facing a number of different things on any given day. You know, that's all he has to use. He doesn't have perfect people to use. He doesn't have perfect examples of people. And I mean, the Bible is just story after story of imperfect people who make terrible choices and bad decisions, and he uses them nonetheless. So just be reminded of that fact. And when you are judged and when you are ridiculed, or when people are expecting you to live up to a certain expectation of what the ideal, you know, walk with God is, and the ideal person that should be walking with God, that isn't true. You know,
that person doesn't exist.
It doesn't exist. You know, we are literally living, walking, breathing, existing. Our identity is shaped around the grace of God. And the more we understand that, the easier it will be for us to navigate this life. So we hope that you enjoyed the identity series as much as we did. And an identity, I think, just like grace, is something that daily, you know, it gets sort of cultivated and shaped, you know, on our journey with God, as he refines us, as he makes us better, you know, on a daily basis. I love the scripture in Peter, you know, I think it's First Peter. I'm not 100% sure what the chapter is, but where he basically says, keep wanting to find more, you know, once you've reached or established knowledge, go hunger and search for love. Once you know how to love, do this. So it's just this constant journey with God, where he's always just cultivating more and more and more in us, and
better version of us.
And truth be told, you will not become that version until you die. So we're all just getting better, striving every day, striving to be better than the day before. But what's beautiful is you don't have to do it alone. God does it with you. He's basically the one running the show. We just have to be surrendered and understand that he's in control, and he can still make our mistakes great.
Definitely. So we don't know what the year looks like, if we're really being honest. But we are going to be here, and whoever and wherever the Spirit leads, we will be recording. And we just want to carry on sharing the love and grace of God in the way that he allows us to. And this platform is really a special platform for us to do that with different people from all walks of life and experiences and testimonies, you know. So we'll definitely be having our fair share of videos this year with different guests. But we will announce closer to the time what the topics are. We want to theme them again and just speak about things that everyday people deal with on a daily basis. You know, questions maybe that we ask God. I mean, I have those questions every single day. You know, address those things, address the stuff that we don't necessarily hear at church, or people don't speak into the way that we want them to. And we want to have discussions and conversations with other people, you know, and we want your input as well. So whatever you think is relevant to whatever topic we might be talking about, or maybe you have suggestions on what we should be addressing, this is the platform for that. And it's always highlighting that it's okay to be broken, because the grace of God just overshadows and makes it okay. He covers all of it.
That's what it's
covers
about.
All the cracks.
That is exactly what it's about, you know. Please also do share some ideas around topics that you'd like us to cover. Please also, if you'd like to be a guest on the show and you want to come and sit with us, we promise we will make room. It may look very small today, but
we might give you free coffee.
But yeah, if you'd like to be a guest on the show and you'd like us to talk and sit and join our podcast one day, please also let us know. You can just comment below, but also just contact us. You can contact me on 082-801-3125 if you'd like to be part of the Brokenness Meets Grace podcast any of the days. And then also just share your inputs and share your topics that you'd like us to talk about. and your testimonies,
Yes.
right? Like, I think all of us have a testimony about brokenness.
Yes.
And we love to talk about that. That's what the show is about. We want to the hero of all heroes, who is God, and how he has come into our lives and taken our brokenness and made it something beautiful, right? So please share your testimonies as well.
Cool.
Okay.
And yeah, that's it from us.
See you soon. And please remember, it may be broken, but it's in the hands of the potter. Bye, guys.